Welcome back to another episode of Buckeye Revival presented by the Walk Foundation. Today, I am so happy to be joined by Ohio State basketball player Colby Baumann.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm excited.
Dude, this is super exciting for us. You're actually the first basketball player that we are having on Buckeye Revival. So
That's awesome.
That is an honor for us to have you on. And basketball season, man, there's a lot of hype around the team. There's so much hype around the basketball team this year. I think Buckeye fans have a little bit of a new, not necessarily, Ohio State's a football school, but it's about to turn into a basketball school with how good the team's going to be. So Jake Diebler is the new head coach. What have you seen from Jake Diebler when it comes to the culture that he's building at Ohio State right now?
Yeah, I mean, he's a very family-oriented guy, and right off the jump when he came in here and took over for the team, it just really we all came together as a family, and it's crazy how connected we are with how much change happened. So it's gonna be a great year.
I remember seeing the mic'd up video of him at practice where he was just so animated, just so into it. As a Buckeye fan, I was just I love to see our coach super involved with the guys. It seems like he's really close with everybody.
Yeah, I mean, there's not one guy on the team that hasn't had one-on-one conversations with him every day. He's personable. He's, like I said, family-oriented. But when it gets down to basketball, he's very intense, very strict, which is needed, you know.
Was he the one who recruited you, or was it somebody else?
So actually, I was recruited by Mike Nettie, which he left last year in the whole coaching change. But yeah, when I first got here, Coach Diebler was right away the guy that I hit it off with, and I've been close to them ever since.
Dude, that's so awesome. And so this year, what can, I guess from the perspective of Buckeye Nation, what can Buckeye Nation expect from the basketball team this year? I know it's a broad question, but what can the team, what can fans expect?
A lot of winning, that's for sure. Just a team that competes every day that, we know what the fans put in for us, and we're putting in the same work for them. It's just the way I look at this year is fans, basketball, players, coaches, we're all one big family, and just we're going to compete so hard for y'all.
And as the time of this recording, we've got the Texas game, the start of the season coming up this Monday. How are you guys feeling heading into the Texas game? They're a really good ranked opponent. Yeah,
we feel great. Like I said, we're all super close. We've been having really good days of practice, preparation. And the next coming days, we'll have some really good preparation for this team and scouting that. But, yeah, we feel really good going into it.
I can't help but ask, you've got a lot of new Buckeye just basketball players on the team this year. You had some transfers, a little bit of a turnover when it comes to the roster. How's it been having some new star-studded transfers like Aaron Bradshaw, Michi Johnson's back in a uniform? You got Micah Parrish in town. So, yeah, how are those guys? How is it with the chemistry on the team? Yeah,
it's always weird at first, when new guys come in, or you're some of my best friends left. And so it's always weird at first. But, me, Micah, Aaron, all these new guys, we hit it off from the jump. And, I think going through practice and just going to war with each other every single day really bonds you. These are my brothers now, and it's only been 3 months. So,
and it's so important too, because the basketball team, I've been so used to talking to these football guys, and it's a little bit of a bigger team. But with the basketball, it's seems like it's a small, tighter knit group of guys that you got to be really close and have a lot of chemistry with, because you know everybody. You're playing with all the guys. It's not just position groups and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool to see kind of how that dynamic's a little bit different. But yeah, so Colby, is this your third year then as a point guard at Ohio State, man?
Yes, sir.
You came from Texas. Tell me a little bit about where you're from and growing up in Texas.
Yeah, so I'm from Houston, Texas, a little small town called Humble outside of Houston. So I grew up in Houston, Texas, went to, I think, 3 years of high school there, and then junior year, COVID hit. So that kind of threw everything off. And I remember my freshman year, I took a camp at IMG Academy down in Florida. And at the time, they wanted me to head on over there and go to school there. But it was just a lot was going on my freshman year, and it was just a bad time for me and my family. So, but when COVID hit, me and my mom decided to make the change over there and finished my senior year out at IMG, but I suffered this really bad wrist injury and shattered my wrist. So ended up doing a postgraduate year there. And honestly, that was one of the best things I probably could have done. And my recruitment kind of picked up, suffered an injury that year too, but IMG was so great with reaching out to coaches and having that connection to get me to that next level. And that's ultimately where Mike Nettie, Coach Nettie hooked me up here.
So as a post-grad year, is that like you're doing like an extra year of high school, like with guys that like were a year younger than you? Is that what it was?
So basically post-grad, so their post-grad program is just like all people who have graduated high school and like kind of just, it's like a gap year almost. So I took a year of like college classes. So I technically was a freshman, but yeah, like a year of eligibility like didn't get taken off.
So you grew up in Texas. So how was it with getting offers? Were you getting a lot of looks? Were you not? Because you said IMG was super helpful. When you were back in Houston, did you want to be a college basketball player? Were you expecting to get offers? Where were you with that?
Yeah, so my family wasn't really like the sports family. Like my dad didn't play sports, my mom didn't play sports. Like, so early on, like I loved basketball. I fell in love with basketball, and I thought at the time I was really good. But I really didn't get looked at a lot. Like, I remember my public school back in Texas that I went to for high school. Like, I wasn't like one of the best at all on the team, and like, I think part of that was due to like it's always a business, you know. It's like who you know, what camps you go to, stuff like that. But like I said, like I didn't do that because my family didn't know anything about it. And my public school was like I think ranked 10th in the state at the time, so like we were really good. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely perks to being on a good team like that, but also like don't play as much, don't get looked at. So
Okay, and so you end up at IMG, and you're like, okay, this will be a better opportunity for me to get some looks, and you got injured.
yeah.
So talk me through those injuries and some of the struggles that might have came with that.
Yeah, so I had never gotten injured in my life before that. And so I go into this new year at IMG Academy, like going into it, I've been working so hard. I was like, this is my year, like my last year, really, to get offers. And I think 2 or 3 games into the season, we're playing Mikey Williams, which is like a high-profile guy. My teammate, Jazeer Jackson, like 2 really, really big-name guys going against each other. So I remember walking into the like court, and there was at least like 100 cameras on the sideline, like stands were packed, like it was a crazy game, right? And I remember going into it thinking in my head, like, you know, nobody knows me really. And if I can like get a highlight play or like do really well in this game, like, you know, I'll get noticed. So I got the steal off of Mikey, and I'm like driving. I remember looking at him, and he's slowing down, like about to try and jump with me. And I was like, all right, if I can dunk on Mikey, like that'll put me out there. You know what I mean? Like if I can get this highlight play, and I went up and I got shoved out the air, and I came down on my wrist, and it just shattered. So what ended up being like a really big thing for me, like ended up like crushing that whole year. So rehabbed my wrist that whole year, came back the last game of the season. So I missed the whole season, and I still was like a shell of myself that last game. And I think I had like 20, 22 points that last game. So like I knew I was, you know, good enough, and I knew like that would have been my year if I would have had it. But yeah, it just didn't work out. And then ultimately didn't have the offers because I couldn't play, and chose to come back that next year for that post grad. And literally the same exact day, a year later, I rolled my ankle and tore 5 ligaments in my ankle. And like the games before that, I had like 25, 27, like I was doing very well. So yeah, a lot of emotions with that second one for sure, just because like I said, never been injured, and then 2 back-to-back really, really bad injuries. And that one probably hurt the most just because I was thinking in my head when I got injured, just like, this is like my one chance, my last chance, because this is my post-grad year now, and I'm like, I can't go out like this, you know? So I just remember like crying, sobbing, and I think my original injury was supposed to be like 2.5 months before I could come back. But being the timeline that it was, like I chose to come back, I think like in 3 weeks. So I mean, my ankle was like still swollen, still like couldn't really walk on it. But that was like that's what I had to do, you know, like in order to get where I wanted to go. So I came back, had okay games. I think I had like 10, 12 points here and there. And then like once it really started feeling better, I went back to like my 20 to 25 point games. And yeah, I mean, I remember right after the season, I still had no offers, and I was like, all this was nothing. Like why am I here? What did I do this for? I did a postgrad year when all my friends were at college, and like nothing came of it, you know? So I remember my coach called me in for our like weekly meetings, and I'm sitting there with him, and we're talking about colleges, and he's like, yeah, like I'm gonna reach out to this coach. I'm gonna reach out to this coach. Like they reached out about you, like stuff like small colleges. And I just remember like my aspirations and where I wanted to be, and I just like was sitting there like kind of not even listening. Like I was just like this is terrible. And like my personality is like I'm not one to like get mad or like press somebody, and like I really just felt like I was like, dude, I'm like this isn't gonna work out. And so I left that meeting, went to go work out, and I like got through like half the workout, and then I sat down like on the bleachers, and I was just like I just started crying. I like called my mom. I was like this is for nothing, like just like very bad attitude. But then I got a call from my coach, the same one I just had a meeting with, and he was like, hey, like come back, like I need to talk to you. So I came back, and he was like I just got a call from like the Syracuse coach and the Middle Tennessee State coach, and we're gonna try and take a look at A&M. They just reached out, and I'm like, in my head, it was just like, it felt surreal just because I was like sitting there crying, talking about like, why did this happen to me? And then here all of a sudden, like, I have chances, you know, like it's not over. And so I remember talking with Syracuse and Middle Tennessee State as everything's like winding down, and this is like May. So, and we're supposed to report, like as athletes, we report in June, like June 2nd is usually the date. And this is like May 16th, May 15th. And so I'm like less than a month away from supposed to being at college, let alone like pick a college. And it boiled down to Middle Tennessee State for me. And I was like, you know, I'm just going to go into this opportunity and like give it my all. And I'm on the phone with Middle Tennessee State, giving them my gear sizes, like large in this, extra large in this. Yeah, we'll have it here when you get here. And then I get off the phone with them. I remember I'm at my buddy's house, and I get off the phone with them, and I get a text from Ohio State. And it's like, Mike Nettie here, like, we would love to talk to you, like, about an opportunity to play here. And I'm like I just remember looking at him like it just came out of the blue. Like Ohio State wasn't even on my radar. And so I talked to my mom, and my mom, like I said, like not a sports person. Went to my mom, and she was like, is Ohio State good? And I'm like, Mom, you have no idea. Like we need to take this like visit. We need to take this opportunity right now. So I applied, got in, took a visit, accepted it on the spot. And yeah, I mean, that's where I'm at. So it's just kind of crazy how everything happened.
That's so crazy how literally I just call it a buzzer beater, man. Like truly that was like getting to Ohio State was a buzzer beater for you.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy to think about even us having this conversation right now, you know, came down to that final. I feel like I just look at it as that was the Lord like interceding right there in your life. And so you're a Christian, Colby. And I want to ask you a little bit about so throughout this whole process when it came to, you know, getting injured and trying to get recruited, and where were you at in your faith growing up when it came to like your high school, and then while you're at IMG, and then like heading off to Ohio State?
Yeah, so my faith has definitely been like an up and down journey. And I don't think there's one point where I could say like, oh, it reached a max and it stayed there. You know what I mean? So growing up, like I was in a Christian family. Like my mom, dad always told me like, you know, they taught me who God was. They never really read from the Bible. We didn't really practice it as we should. And it was kind of like that up until I think I was 8. So my mom and dad were very social people, and they got invited to one of their friends' parties. And they always brought me like to their friends' parties because, you know, their friends had kids, stuff like that. So I remember we're getting ready for this party, and my mom and dad were like, all right, let's load up, let's go. And the days before, my dad had been having like pretty bad headaches. and like so bad to where like he had to stay home from work one day, like, and it was like leading up to it. And today he was feeling okay, and then like an hour before we're about to leave, he kind of looked at my mom. It was like, like I'm having another one, like, and it just like kind of took him out. And so my mom was like, you know what, we don't have to go to the party. And my dad was like, no, let's go. And so we got in the car, and she was like, let's stop by the ER. Like, let's go like an hour early and stop by the ER on the way there. Like, just check everything's okay. So we're on the way to this party, stop by the ER, and he got all the tests done, and they kind of came back. Like, we're just laughing in the room, and they came back and they were like, we see a mass on your brain. And so that was pretty scary really fast. And I mean, I was like 8 years old, so I really didn't know anything about that, like no one in my family, no one of my friends had experienced that. So I mean, I saw my mom and dad just like start crying immediately. And my mom called one of her friends to come pick me up. Stayed at my mom's friend's house for about a week. She brought me back and forth to school, and I had no idea what was going on at all. Like, my dad got admitted to the hospital. They quickly found that it was like a stage 4 glioblastoma, which is like the worst brain cancer you can have. And yeah, it was just a really hectic time. Like, I wouldn't say sad at the time because I didn't quite understand like what was going on. But it was very hectic. And so he got admitted to this hospital, which then transferred him to MD Anderson, which is one of the leading cancer hospitals. And immediately went into surgery. They took it out. They tested it. And he had to start chemo, radiation, the whole works. And it just like, when he got diagnosed, they basically told him like, you have 14 months to live. And that was the like average lifespan for most brain cancer patients, especially in the stage that he was in. So I mean, as a kid, like getting told your dad has a little over a year to live, it's just kind of like shocking. And like I'd never experienced loss, so I was just like I didn't understand it. So I remember getting bounced around from family to family just because like my mom and dad were constantly in the hospital and I couldn't stay like at the house by myself. So I was getting tossed around from her friends, my dad's friends, like just kind of living off of other people. And it was like that. I mean, we had him for 6 years, and during that 6 years, like our faith turned so much. Like he went from never going to church, like partying all the time. Like my mom and dad used to have all these parties that like really like just becoming a family. And like going to church every Sunday. We'd have life groups. I'd go to the kids groups on Wednesdays. Like it's like a switch flipped. Like it was crazy how like deep we dove into our faith. And yeah, like I remember I even became like an usher in church for like a 3-month span. Like it was crazy. And so we were very involved in church his whole fight. And when I was 14, back in 2017, I think it was the summer going into my freshman year, he passed away. And that really took a turn for us, not just in our faith, but like just in life, because he passed away. And then a month later, 2 of my grandparents passed away. And then in a month later after that, or 2 months later after that, my other 2 grandparents passed away, and then my house flooded. So in the span of like 2 to 3 months, I lost 4 grandparents, my dad, and my house. So it was very crazy, hectic. And like, I just really didn't understand at the time, like how to deal with it or like who to go to or who to talk to about it. And my mom was so strong with everything, which I know she like cried on her own and stuff like that, but she never showed that to me. So it's almost like I didn't see anyone else reacting in the way they should. So I didn't know how to react. And how to go about it. So we kind of lost track of going to church. We kind of strayed away from stuff like that. And I really just dove deep into basketball, and just like anytime I needed to do something, like I was always in basketball. Like I was on 3 AAU teams, like two teams for high school. Like it was just like constant sports. So, but yeah, it was like that for probably 3 to 4 years until I went to IMG. And I kind of dove into a little bit of faith and small groups and stuff like that, but it was nowhere near like where I should be or where I have been. And then I got here, and Coach Diebler actually dove me into faith again, and he like was like, "Hey, come to church with me." And I was like, you know what? Yeah, like I'll go, just because like I want to have a relationship with the coaches, like not even just with like faith. Like I was just like, I want to have a relationship with the coaches. So I went with the coaches, and next thing I know, I'm like going every Sunday. And even when my coach didn't go, like I was like, hey, like Bruce, do you want to go? And me and Bruce would go, or me, Bruce, and Evan would. Like it's crazy, because like we would go literally every Sunday, and like it just grew from there. And now I'm like actively reading the Bible all the way through, and like trying to do these little small groups, and going with people from my school to like feed the homeless, and with like everyone who just dives into faith. And it's crazy how much it's grown.
That's so amazing, dude. There's so much to that. There's so much to that story in your story, and I feel like I can't even do it justice with like even just sharing my thoughts on it. But Colby, I couldn't help but think as you were kind of talking there. So you're walking with the Lord when your dad's still around. You lose your dad, and you're just sitting here, and you're just like, I don't know how to react. I don't know how to feel. Yeah. You're trying to kind of find your life in basketball. You know, okay, I need to be a good basketball player and achieve all these things. You're getting all these injuries that are happening throughout high school, and you're just like, what's my identity? Like, is that kind of what you're thinking?
Yeah. And I like, I don't even, it's so hard to explain, because like at the time I was such a people pleaser, and I was so worried about how other people were viewing me, than like dealing with all of that in a way. And like you said, like dealing with like what's my identity. Like none of my friends had gone through loss in any way, and here I am going through like 5 family members in a house. So yeah, like I didn't know where to go, what to do, what my path was. And like at the time, like basketball wasn't working out as much as I loved it. So yeah, like I didn't know what to do, like at all. And it was a very crazy time. But like looking back on it, like it happened for the best. And like I grew so much because of it. And I think that was like defining my character and my identity. 'Cause you don't always like know God's path in the moment. Like that's never how it works at all. You either learn it way on down the line through that one mistake, or you make that mistake over and over again until you get taught the lesson. And yeah, everything that happened to me, I'm not, obviously didn't happen in a good reason, but like it helped me so much in defining who I am, and like I've matured so much because of it. So
yeah, like so the Lord like used those circumstances to help mold you and shape you into who you are today. And keeping that faith, and that the Lord's going to provide, and the Lord's going to order your steps, I feel like it's a testament to even some of the hardest moments that anyone can go through, and what you've been through, Colby. And so you get to Ohio State, right? You get to Ohio State, you're like, awesome. I'm a Buckeye. I got this offer last minute. Like I'm at a Power 5 program, like one of the top programs in the country. What was that transition like? So you get into Ohio State. Did it meet your expectations? Was it different than what you thought? Like, where were you at with that?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously when I got the offer, I was like, or the opportunity to even come here, I was like, I didn't expect this at all. Like I expected it to be very crazy. And I knew like this Power 5 school, like like in my head, I'd never experienced something like that. And so like I could only imagine like how crazy it would be and how the games would be and practices. And when I got here, it was really on my visit. I remember walking into the arena and I was just like it was just so surreal. And I was like, this literally looks like an NBA arena. Like it just like, I can't imagine all these like stands being filled and me like being center stage of that. So yeah, when I got here and just like the life of an athlete here is just like so crazy. Like, and I'm so thankful for it. And it defied all expectations I had at this place. Like, the coaches embraced me as family, the players, brothers, like, and just like, it's so crazy to me. What's really crazy is just like every minor detail of like an athlete's life that you think wouldn't be important, like a Power 5 school like this covers. Like Ohio State is so good about like nutrition. Like we have like a team pastor. Like it's down to so like the such small details that like really impact winning that you really don't see. But like, yeah, it offers me so much.
Yeah, and so you speak to all the amazing things that it offers. What are some of like the struggles that can come from just the expectations of being a college basketball player?
Yeah, definitely a lot more struggles than what it has to offer. That's for sure. But it's like, I mean, there's a lot of pressure that comes with like, oh yeah, I'm on the basketball team for Ohio State, and everyone's like, oh, so you're going pro? Not at all. Like that's not how things work. And there's so much pressure with like, if you're on a team like this, like if you're not playing, like, what are you doing? Like, why are you not on the team? What are you doing? Like, and there's always people that. There's always going to be haters no matter what you do, where you go. But, yeah, like my first 2 years here have not been the best, like winning wise. And so there's a lot of people who make a statement on that and think that they can judge your character based off how the team does and just all sorts of things, really. But it's really frustrating, I think, as an athlete. I know all athletes like struggle with this, but like being someone who sacrifices day in and day out and like may not get to see the results they want or like get to be who they envision themselves to be that might not be on God's path. But just seeing the people who like aren't athletes be like, oh, my life's great over here, like you're not going pro, what are you doing? Like I think that's the biggest struggle for me, is just seeing the outside life and kind of being on the inside, being like, I could be doing this, but knowing it's going to be all worth it in the end, you know? So.
Have there ever been moments where you felt like you almost just want to like quit and not be a part of the team?
Yeah. So that I really think there's been a point every basketball season that I've ever been a part of since freshman year of high school that I've wanted to quit. So high school was really bad for me. Like I said, like I wasn't as good as I thought I was probably. So I wanted to quit every single point of that. And then I got to IMG and it really got bad when I would get injured, and especially when I had no offers there at the end. And I was like, what am I doing this for? Like it would be so easy just to give up. And then coming here, I wasn't playing as much as I wanted. I didn't know if this was the path for me. And yeah, I wanted to quit. And then this summer, Deeb got the job and immediately went up to me and was like, hey, I want you back. Like, you know, we're family. Like, I need you on this team. I want you to have my back. And I was like, yeah, like immediately, like, yes, let's do it. But then going home this summer, I struggled a lot with just like my mental and anxiety as a whole. And like, I fell really deep into depression this summer. And yeah, we had to report back here like June 4th, I think. And I just remember like crying the 2 days before I came back, just like, I don't want to go back, like at all. And I came back here and I would sit in my room all day and go to practice. Just my heart wasn't in basketball anymore. And I'd come back and just sit in my apartment by myself, feeling so lonely, so depressed. And it was hard to make it through every single day. Like I just remember thinking that I was like, there's always been days where like, yeah, it's hard to like, this was a hard week, or like, yeah, this is a hard day, but like, no, like it literally like, I didn't think I could make it through the day. And I remember talking to Deeb, and I was like, hey, this is how I'm feeling. Kind of putting on a front, like, yeah, like I'm okay, but like this is like I'm struggling with this. And he was like, yeah, man, like, just do this, this, and this, and like, yeah, just keep your head on straight, like just normal advice. And then I think I drove home, talked to my mom, was crying the whole time. I was laying down on the floor with the shower running, just like trying to like get some sort of positivity to me. And nothing was working. I went back to Deeb literally like an hour later, and I was like, I can't do it. Like I quit. And I immediately was just like bawling my eyes out with him, and he was like, dude, I don't want to see you quit. Like I want you to like be here. We need you in this team. And I was like, Deep, like I'm telling you, like nothing you can say is gonna change my mind. And so he brought in Coach Dickerson, which is one of the new coaches. And he basically was just like, talk to Colby. Like Diebler literally like left the room and was like, Coach Dickerson, you talk to Colby. And I had no idea who this new coach was, like at all. And Coach Dickerson took me aside and told me a lot of personal things about him, that basically he was in the same shoes I was about like 2 years ago. And he looked at me when I literally looked at him crying, and he was like, how you are right now is how I was. And so Coach Deeb came back in the room and was like, here's what we're going to do. I think you just need time. And he was like, take the summer. He was like, go home. And then, when you get right mentally, like come back, and we're going to embrace you. And I just remember hearing that, and I was just like, in my head, I like was in such a bad place that I was like, I'm not coming back. Like, thank you for giving me this time, but I'm not coming back. And so I remember leaving there. I called my mom, and my mom, obviously being a parent, was like, oh my God, thank God he's giving you this time. You can get your head right and then come back. And I really don't think even my mom knew how bad it was. Like I would call her like there was weekends where she'd come up she came up one weekend, left on Wednesday, came up Thursday again because I was so bad, like literally next day. So I went home, spent a month and a half, 2 months back home. Some situations happened back home where it was literally like, I remember sitting at home and I was like, called one of my buddies, and they were like, nah, I can't hang. I've got work. Called one of my other buddies. He was like, nah, I can't do, like, I got to move back into college tomorrow. Like I'm leaving. Called one of my other buddies. They were like, oh, I got work, man. Sorry. And I was like sitting in my living room. The lights are off. My mom's at work, so I have no car. And I just was like, this is what it's going to be like if I'm not there. Like, I'm going to have to find a job. I'm not in the right space mentally, so that's even going to add to more pressure. One of my mom's friends came over because she knew how bad I was doing, and like I just sat there crying, explaining my situation, like, and she was like, listen, like, I know you might not see it right now, but like that's the best option. Like, go back. So I called Diebler in the headspace that I was in, and I was like, listen, I'm coming back. He was like, if you come back, like I need you all in. I was like, I'm all in. Came back. They embraced me from the jump. And like, it's crazy because the past 2 years I've been here, like my teams really haven't been connected. Like I can't, other than Bruce, like I can't name one person on either of those teams where I could call them and be like, man, I'm really depressed right now. And they would probably have my back, but I wouldn't feel comfortable. But this year, man, like I'm a strong believer in like things happening for a reason and like God's path. And I came back to like brothers like in Christ, like not just like brothers as teammates, like but like in Christ. And like, I mean, we're doing like team Bible studies, and like if you would have looked at like literally go back in time 3 months, and I'm laying on the floor bawling my eyes out, having the worst thoughts you could ever think of, to where now you fast forward to our last game against Cincinnati, and I'm leading team prayer and Bible study. Like, coach literally looked at me and was like, I want you to lead Bible study. And I prepared my own like statements and passages, and I like had all the coaches and all the players in one room, and I'm leading Bible study. And I'm just like, I can't explain it, you know? Like, that's God's path.
It's so amazing to see how good God is, just how faithful he's been to you.
Mm.
And with you even just bringing up even leading the Bible study in Cincinnati, it's like, who would have thought that you would be the guy leading the Bible study here at Ohio State in your third year with the program, and seeing all the guys who are following the Lord and putting Christ at the center of their hearts and truly being followers of Jesus. It's amazing to see. What's like the hope that you have in Jesus? Like, where, just truly, like, what does Jesus mean to you, and how do you lean on him?
I mean, Jesus means everything to me. Like, he's really quickly become the center of my life. And like I said, I immediately can put all my faith and my whole life into Jesus' hands because of what he's shown me. Like, I mean, I brought it up to you before. My favorite passage, and the passage that defines me, is John 9:3, and it basically talks about a blind man. And he comes to Jesus and his disciples, and disciples are kind of judgmental. And they're like, you know, did he or his parents sin? Like, what made him like this? And Jesus basically says neither him or his parents sinned, but this has happened to him to show the light of God and the Lord, and to give those Jesus' love. And I mean, like I said, I could have easily turned to the worst when my dad, all four of my grandparents, and my house flooded in the span of 2-3 months. Like, I could have immediately ran to the worst. But I really believe that everything happened to me in my life for a reason and to show me the right path. And if I wouldn't have went through that depression this summer and came back a totally broken person, I would have never dove into the Bible. Like, I'm reading the Bible front to back now, and like leading Bible studies and going to help the homeless with a prayer group. Like, I like, it's so crazy to me, the path that Jesus has. And like, there's no way that you can't believe Jesus is real if you just like give it to him. Like, and I think that's the biggest thing. Like, if you just let go and like say, you know, Jesus, like, show me. Like, I remember truly, like, I was letting that water run on my back, just like thinking in the worst headspace, just like, God, just show me, like, show me something. And there was no signs right away. And I just remember being like, ugh, like, just frustrated. Like, there's no signs. Like, oh my gosh, he's not showing me anything. But like, if you look at me now, like, there is so many signs, like more than I could have asked for. There's no way I would be diving in my faith the way I am if I was not broken the way that I was. I would have never been in the situation I am. I would have just been here for basketball. I would have been focused on basketball. Like, oh yeah, what's life after this? There's like, the way that I was broken, the way that I was fixed and saved, and the way that he wanted me to be, it shows everything.
What would you tell the high school you or other high schoolers nowadays? Just some advice, or just to point them in the right direction.
Gosh. I honestly would say, one, trust in God. Like I said, just let him show you the path that he wants you to be on. And two, I would say every path is different. I was so wrapped up in what other people were doing at my age or even younger and been like, oh, well, he's here, so I should be there. No, like, everyone has their own path and you're all on his path. And if I would have been where I wanted to be in high school, that would have been the worst thing for me. Even a week ago, wherever I wanted to be, if I would be there now, would have been the worst thing for me. Like, everything works out. Like, there's never a right thing. You know what I mean? And you're always going to end up where he wants you to be as long as you like let him show you. So I would say just like follow your own path. Like if something doesn't work out, cool, let's open another door. Let's open this door. If that one closes, here's another door. Like there's never going to be a right answer. And I just think you have to figure that out. But yeah, just trust.
Yeah, I was just thinking like let go. It's like just let go and let God, right?
Exactly.
And put it in his hands, because ultimately we cannot, our way is not the right way. Our way, when we try to do it our way, it never turns out good. But when you give it to him, right, he provides and he does it his way, and his way is perfect. I do want to ask you, Colby, for the people on YouTube, tell me a little about the ring that you're wearing on your neck.
Yeah, so this ring was my dad's. And when he got diagnosed, like, it's weird. So he never wore jewelry. He never did anything like that. And when he got diagnosed, he immediately started wearing this ring, and he had like this big cross necklace, right? And so when he passed away, like when I think of my dad, like I always thought of like this on his hand. So I didn't really like the idea of me wearing a ring. So I just got a necklace and put it on this necklace, and I've worn it literally every single day ever since he passed. So it's just something that kind of like reminds me of him, and like people will be like, oh, like what's that ring, or what does that mean? Gives me a chance to just like kind of share who he was for a little bit. But also like it has a cross on it. Like I think for that, it just resembles like who he became. Like, yeah, he was this one person, but like he put on this ring because of what he wanted to show. And like he wanted to show people like who he was now, you know? Because no way before he got diagnosed would he wear a cross with a ring on it, I don't think. So yeah, it just reminds me of who he became, and kind of like the person he was on the inside, not just the outside.
What a great reminder to when you look to your dad too, that he's pointing up towards the Lord the entire time, and you get to walk with that just every day of your life, man. What a blessing that is. Well, dude, that's going to wrap up the episode here, man. Colby, I appreciate you so much for coming on Buckeye Revival, man. It's been such a pleasure. I know your story is going to touch so many people, so thank you so much for coming on, and I wish you great luck this season, man.
Yeah, thank you, man. That's a lot of fun.